Okay, guys, settle down, settle down, settle down. Right. Welcome to another W. Fuck's sake, City Bomb Bum.
Another W. Welcome to another W.
Another W. You know what? I'm leaving this in. This is just the worst stuff.
Okay, all right. If we're leaving it in, welcome to the workplace office meeting. Don't forget to do your advanced manual handling and get your names for the Secret Santa. Why are we here? Of course, we have to mention this every week. We are planning episodes for That Guy's a Maniac podcast. This is about video games. The website is www.thatguys.co.uk. You can find all their gaming content on the socials on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, which was in reverse order of usage, so don't really check those first two. At That Guy's a Maniac, all one word lowercase. Oh look, there's Janine. Have you heard her good news? She's got engaged. She's wearing a brilliant diamond ring with some shining pearls, which is a bit weird for a ring, but that's the news in the office. So this week, Richie, we're going to be talking about Pokemon Brilliant Diamond.
Fucking, that's Farley with the carry. Not only you dedicated to this office bit, but you've carried the whole thing. Whereas Richie can barely go 2 seconds without stumbling over his own fucking tongue. It's okay. And swearing as well.
I don't think
swearing.
I don't think the readers will work out that that's the third time we tried to start this episode. But also, there's a lot to talk. I have a lot to talk about, so keen to get that premise out of the way quickly.
And what could you be wanting to talk about? Diamonds and pearls?
It's, of course, the new Pokemon game, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, and its partner game, Pokemon Shining Pearl, which in our timeline have just come out, but whenever this comes out, who knows how long it's been.
Probably going to be very shortly.
Yeah, okay, great. So it'll be contemporary. Now, for the longest time, you and I have kind of buddied up on the Pokemon games. If you don't know anything about Pokemon games, where have you been for the last 25 years? But basically, when they release them in pairs. I think this is a sales thing, but also in the early generations, it was a cool. You couldn't catch them all on one copy of the game, so you had to trade with your friends.
Yeah, it was good. So you had version exclusives, and there was other things as well. They had little story changes and little things like most recently the Sword and Shield ones. They have different clothes that are available for the two characters and things like that.
They did. But this is the first one that you're sitting out, I think, for a long time.
I mean, I'm sitting it out as in I'm not jumping out to buy it. I mean, every November for the past 25 years or something like that, there's always been a new Pokemon game. And I'm just going to quickly run through this. But yeah, the reason I'm not ecstatic, excited, or particularly interested in this title is, one, I've already played Diamond and Pearl. It wasn't one of my favourite in the seasons in the series. But second of all, it's also using the same engine as Pokemon Let's Go, which was, let's just say it wasn't my cup of tea,
hang on. And you can refer back to, oh my god.
Another episode?
Episode 10. Season 1, Episode 10, where we did a Pokemon Let's Go roundup to hear why Richie wasn't in love with that game.
No. I mean, it's weird because I bought the console. I have the Pokemon Let's Go flavoured console. Yeah. But playing through the game, I couldn't get behind it, and I don't see any benefit to the series as yet, and I hope that you can maybe prove me wrong as to even why to play Diamond and Pearl. Short of the enjoyment of playing the game, but I don't think there's anything exclusive to it that's going to make it a necessary entry in the sequence of the series.
Yeah, I think this is a good one to sit out. So previously, and I'll quickly go through the timeline, because when I took the day off work on launch day to play the game, and so when real people found out about that, the response is always like, "Oh, is Pokemon still going?"
Wow.
So yeah, so yes, and it's as strong as it's ever been.
Are these all people with kids that are, think that that's more important things in life?
Yeah, etc. But I thought I'd give a quick rundown. So this is Brilliant Diamond, which is as Richie mentioned, is a remake, or it's kind of it occupies a strange position in that it's part remake, part update, but not really. It's very, and it's kind of being marketed as being very faithful to the 2006 original. But Pokemon, the mainline Pokemon games have a long history of remaking previous games in the series, and so if you're not familiar with Pokemon at all, there have been hundreds of different games. The mainline ones are the ones which you can kind of is the role-playing game. You can capture things, and since 2002ish, you've been able to transfer Pokemon between games. Yeah. That's one of the big selling points. So in 1996, we got the original kind of red, blue, green, and shortly after yellow, which introduced the first 151 Pokemon. So that's your, up to Mewtwo and Mew, the kind of generation that everybody perhaps is most familiar with, and people of our age tend to love. Then after that was Gold and Silver, which introduced another 100 Pokemon. After that was Ruby and Sapphire, which added another 134 Pokemon. Then things start to get a little bit strange in that. So Red, Blue, Green, Gold and Silver were on the Game Boy. And then there's kind of a cut-off, so you couldn't transfer things from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance is kind of the earliest one we can transfer things up to systems today, if you've got the hardware gear. So Ruby and Sapphire introduced 134 new Pokemon, and then that was shortly followed by a remake of the first game called Fire Red and Leaf Green, and then which kind of brought back most of the first generation, the first 151, and a few of the second generation. Then there's this weird period of time, I don't know if you remember this, Richie, where you could only get the second generation Pokemon, so all the Pokemon introduced from Gold and Silver, from either Colosseum or XD, which were GameCube games, or Emerald specifically. So you had to buy a whole separate game. Yeah. For a short period if you wanted your...
But you were able to do some shenanigans. Was there not like... you could transfer quite a few things onto the N64 or GameCube version. Like you could transfer to it using the Game Boy Advance controller, and you could do some interesting things there. So that's how you could get the second generation if you didn't own a copy of Emerald, was by transferring them back. And for Colosseum, which came out in between Ruby and Sapphire and Fire Red Leaf Green, you had one chance per Pokemon to catch it. Which yes, quite brutal. But then there was I don't want to talk about Colosseum much more. No.
But there was the Master Ball glitch. Do you remember that?
No.
So there's something you could do which meant you could just keep using a Master Ball over and over and over and over and over. Which they fixed.
What? If that existed, I'm pretty sure that's how I did it. But
so now I can see when I'm on Pokemon Home, like which of the second gen Pokemon, because they're all in Master Balls. Got like a furret and a Master Ball. Then we jumped to DS with the original Diamond and Pearl. This is 2006, which added 106 more Pokemon. Then they remade Gold and Silver. Then we got Black and White, which added 155. Then we got Black 2 and White 2. So not just content with having partner games, there was a sequel to the partner games.
They didn't add much, they just changed forms and things like that, didn't they? They added forms.
Yeah, I think they added the merged Kyurem.
Yeah, so you could use the canister things, and I think you got the altered form Giratina or something like that.
Yeah, so Black 2 and White 2 were better than Black and White, but I think it was a 2-year gap or something.
Yeah.
Then after that, we jumped to 3DS with X and Y, which added 71 to these random numbers. 71 new Pokemon, as well as you transfer all the previous ones. But then they remade Ruby and Sapphire, which was the third generation game, so the first one on the GBA.
But along with the 71, there was the millions of different forms that came with like Furfrou, and they changed a few of them. They made like Lino's forms and things like that as well. So there wasn't just 71 added, there was a remix of some of the Pokemon as well.
Which one? Which one did you say? Furfrou and...
the different forms, and they had Lumio's forms. I'm saying this very question markingly.
No, I think that wasn't till Sun and Moon. Alolan forms, right? That was the
Alolan
first.
forms. Oh yeah.
Then they remade the third game. Then it was Sun and Moon, where they added another 87, and then they added regional forms. So remember Rattata, he's a slightly different type Rattata.
Yeah.
Then there was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Then Let's Go. So that's, if you're keeping track, that's the third remake of the first game on the Switch. Then we got Sword and Shield, which added 88 new Pokemon. And then that brings us bang up to date with 2021 and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which is the last of the remakes and essentially remaking what was the fourth game to add new Pokemon. So we're currently up to, if you only played some of the early ones, we're currently up to 898 Pokemon in the Pokedex, and at least 3 new ones have been kind of shown off for the game that's coming out in January, which is Arceus Legend. And they're all 3 kind of evolutions of old ones. Right. So it's a really strange... I mean, I've had the absolute privilege and joy to play through most of these. But it's a series that kind of comes with a bit of history, and it has weird things. Like, for example, I was doing some digging. So for somebody who started playing Pokemon games, I don't know, let's say in 2013, right, with X and Y. There's a Pokemon that hasn't yet come out in Pokemon Go, and there's a bit of connectivity between Go and Home and some of the games, some of the Switch games, not all of them. So there's a Pokemon called Go-Goat, and was it evolved from?
Oh god, Go-Go and... oh gosh, I can't remember his name.
I shouldn't have asked. Billy Goat Boy. So the last time they were in a game was 8 years ago. So in theory, you've got players who started playing, in 2014, or whatever, who have never seen them all, or never been able to catch them all and have them all in a game.
Skiddo,
well done. Without well looked up. Without
well looked up. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Buying an old system and kind of playing the game, which to me is really strange. We're lucky because we've kind of experienced the whole lot, and because you've been able to transfer them. I frequently open my home game and just check that I've still got one of all of them. But we are in this weird place. And famously with Sword and Shield, they made it. It was the first one where they made it so that not all of the previous Pokemon were in it. And now we're in this really weird space where, like I say, there are some Pokemon which have kind of been out in the wind for almost 10 years, and not kind of in a current game. So Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are remakes of the first DS games, Diamond and Pearl, and they've deliberately, so rather than just kind of use the Sword and Shield engine and have 3D environments and all of that, they've kind of marketed it and developed it as a kind of faithful remake, which is a bit strange because a lot of the good stuff we've had and a lot of the stuff that perhaps deserves to be in the past.
So that's the thing. It's like the move to Sword and Shield was exciting because it was making things 3D. You could look up, you could look around, you're able to see the Pokemon in the wild, not in the same way as it felt a little bit whack-a-mole in the Let's Go. But ultimately, all that they've done is recreated all of the tiles that existed in the original game. And these tiles were, of course, just pixels. But now they are very, very pretty 3D tiles that you can move across in a 3D fashion. But, it is exactly the same mechanics. I don't know, it's not enough for me. It's almost like, oh god, if you were to call, apologies for this, you're going to hate me for it. If you were going to call Sword and Shield Pokemon 2, what we now have is Pokemon 1.5 from the Let's Go engine, as it were.
Yeah, but unlike Let's Go, which was a kind of, trying to bring in a newish generation, so the younger generation who might have just got themselves a Switch,
or
people who
only played Pokemon Go.
Yeah, people who've only played Pokemon Go. This one is firmly a remake of those old DS RPGs. The overworld map is kind of in a chibi style, which works actually. Some people had a real issue with it. I think it's fine. And it's got that beautiful graphical style, which seems to be all the rage in things like Octopath Traveler, where there's you turn the focal length down, and so everything's kind of a blur, and you're running around the scenery. It really looks like you're looking into like a little toy box. It looks really nice. It's really pretty.
Okay.
But then there are things which we thought we'd got past in the Pokemon series, which come back. You're like, oh, yeah, we used to put up with these kind of things. So I can't remember what I was saying.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay.
Seamless. We're gonna have to put the friends.
We'll leave another break.
No. We're keeping it in. If I do the fuck up at the start, you're getting this one.
Alright, okay. Unlike the first generation, which we could probably both do with our eyes closed and still miss out the third gym, and unlike the second one, which was kind of the boring Johto bit, and then you go back to the first area, then Ruby and Sapphire, which is the one which has got all the fucking water in it. It's just endlessly swimming around. And then this one I've remembered, so I'm about halfway through the game, halfway through the kind of pre-end game bit. I've got 5, or just over 5 of the gym badges. If you remember, it's a really convoluted map. And so in the original games, it was essentially a gear-gated RPG. So you couldn't go to, you could look at the world map, but you couldn't go here or here or here because you needed the ability to cut down trees, or you needed a thing to spray on a Sudowoodo, or a flute to wake up a Snorlax.
Yeah.
And in Diamond and Pearl, which is Sinnoh? Yeah, in the Sinnoh region. I just forgot how crazy it's like that, but then on acid. So it's really...
Oh my god.
it's a really interconnected world map when you look at it. But then there's somebody's like, you can't go here because there are Psyducks who are having headaches. So it's obviously you need to come back there later. You're not allowed to go down here. You're not allowed to go down here. Every town has 4 ways to go, and it's not especially memorable. And the kind of thing that this brought, that Sinnoh region brought to Pokemon was like, do you remember it's like wet, marshy lands, which were just a real pig to play through.
Yeah.
Deep mud. Do you remember that mechanic?
So you actually have to walk very slowly.
Yeah, otherwise
that's a fun way to play a game, isn't it? Your
character falls into the mud and you kind of have to wade out again. Lots of weather effects. And interesting, which I'd completely forgotten, so much of this game is hidden behind the Elite Four. So again, if you're not familiar, the main drive of these games is you start off as a 10-year-old, and then you beat 8 gym leaders normally, beat the champions of the region, which is ridiculous because they're supposed to be the best champions at all, and you just started your journey last week and stuck with the Pokemon that you're given. And then after that, it's kind of called endgame. And normally what happens is lots of things open up, or there are lots of options. Sometimes there's extra story, sometimes there's a whole bunch of new Pokemon. In Diamond and Pearl originally, and I think it's even more so in this one, loads of different things happen after endgame. And so coming at it with kind of a memory from having spent a lot of time in the endgame of Diamond and Pearl, and then being stuck about 20 hours in, so it's probably about 40 hours to do, just because there's lots of walking and lots of fighting. They made a really weird decision that instead of showcasing the new 106 Pokemon that were introduced with this generation,
they have every one of them available and cycling around as well.
It's some 20 hours in, and you fight endless Geodudes, and then every hiker will have a Geodude or an Onyx, which is, we've had since the first generation. And you go into a cave and it's Zubats, and then you meet Ace Trainers and they'll have Ponytas. And oh man, where are the new, where are the inverted commas new Pokemon? And one of the really grindy things from the older games, is you're trying to get from city A to city B to do whatever, deliver a MacGuffin or speak to whoever, and trying to stop Team Galactic is the main story. And you're just facing down a route which has 10 trainers on it. Okay, I'm gonna have 10 battles, and then probably backpedal.
And that is one of the big slogs that I really found it hard to get past in Let's Go as well. The battles just weren't very engaging. But
and I just forgot how they really stingy with kind of rolling out the new Pokemon. So it's not like you're rolling around with a bunch of Sinnoh only Pokemon, and then you occasionally bump into Onyx. Hey, that's one of the first generation ones. So that kind of rankles a little bit. The other thing that Diamond and Pearl originally added was this thing called the Underground. I don't know if it was always called the Grand Underground. This time around, it's called the Grand Underground. So you have an overworld map where you're running around and doing your Pokemon battling and catching and progressing the story, and then you can dig into the underground, and you get this drill out and drill a hole and disappear into the underground. And there was a whole mechanic in the original Diamond and Pearl where you would dig up essentially different currencies. Also, you could dig up fossils. You could also make yourself a little secret base, and because it was the first one on the DS, it had kind of better online connectivity. So there were various rewards you could get for interacting with other players and finding their secret bases. Do you remember the Spiritomb bollocks?
Yep. Yeah, you had to do something like you had to get 49 flags or something like that.
Yeah. Fortunately, that's gone, but you do have to interact with 32 other players.
Oh, okay.
In the underground.
How easy is that to do?
It's not very easy. I don't know how to do it. Because you can connect to the internet when you're in the underground. It just means there are more people running around. You can see, and there are a couple of things that you can do. So you can sort of excavate fossils together, but not really. And then there's this thing where, as you're running around, it's all like a grid-based system underground, and also you can only access certain parts of the underground from certain parts of the overground. So if you dig in certain spots, it will take you to either the central section or the northeast section, or the east section, etc., etc.
Okay.
And as you're running around, there are these diglets which are, appear, and when you kind of walk into them, you get a little chime. And every time you and everyone who you're playing with on the internet hits 40 diglets, there's something like a minute of bonus time. All it says is, the game's just come out, so a lot of this is trying to work out what all of this means. Is it says something good will happen in the underground. And I think it has something to do with shiny rates, and it has something to do with things you can find when you're excavating. So you connect to the internet, you're doing whatever you want, and then you see this big counter in the top left-hand corner. So every time you hit a diglet, someone else hits a diglet, it goes up, and then when it hits 40, it's kind of go nuts time. They've changed a little bit of this underground. So before you could make a secret base, and there's a whole economy of berries and spears, and you would buy like little carpets and traps and Pokemon dolls and posters. All of that's gone. So the only thing you can do in your secret base is display statues, and statues you get from doing there's a little digging mini game. So you find a shining piece of wall, go and do a digging mini game, and every now and then you'll find a box, and in that box will be a statue of a Pokemon. And then when it's special crazy time, or if you're really lucky, you get a shiny box which has a jade or green coloured statue. It's kind of compelling to just keep digging, finding these statues, and then you set up the statues in your base.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And then it will determine which Pokemon spawn, and this is new, they kind of have mini wild areas. So in the underground, there are these slightly open areas. And when you go in there, unlike the Overground, there are kind of wild Pokemon walking around. So, for example, if you collect loads of different statues, let's say you've got a whole bunch of rock-type statues, you put loads and loads of rock-type statues in your secret base, and it will increase the chance of there being rock-type spawning in these kind of mini-wild areas. I think there's like 20 of these mini-wild areas in the Underground. But pre-end game, so I have filled my secret base with rock-type statues. It's just hundreds of Geodudes and Onyxes, right? Because there are no other rock types.
Oh no, you don't have the Sun and the Moon one.
No, that's after endgame.
Oh, okay.
You don't have. I don't think.
Solrock and Lunatone. That's what I meant.
Yeah, you don't have Rhydon, even though Rhyperior is new in this game. That's after endgame. All those weird.
Oh my god.
Evos are after endgame. Yeah. There's no Nose Pass. There's no Sudowoodo. There's the two fossils, Geodude and Onyx. So I've got lots of those running around. Yeah. And so that will change after endgame. So I don't know. It's kind of. I've spent a long time excavating these statues, which is kind of fun, but it doesn't add there's not a huge amount you can do, and unfortunately you can't really creatively pose them either. So unfortunately, it doesn't look great. Your secret base doesn't look great, and when you can pop into somebody else's secret base and you've kind of got 10 statues in here. You can buy pedestals for them, which seems to do nothing.
Yeah.
That's the Underground.
I have the opportunity to make it look pretty. That's fine. The pedestals don't need to do anything.
No, I think there are some that spin around.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty.
But I think some people are angry that all the posters and carpets and stuffed Pokemon has gone.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
I
see why people would be grumpy.
Yeah, especially because it was sort of billed as a faithful remake, but it's not that faithful. In some ways,
enough, yeah.
Yeah, and in other ways, it's perhaps too faithful. So that's the Underground. One of the big changes they made is before, and you may have seen complaints about this. As I mentioned, you've got essentially it's gear-gated RPG, and the way that would be done is you'd have to. Yes, yeah, the thing called HMs, which are hidden machines.
So how do they handle the HMs? Because do you still need an HM slave?
Yeah, so this was the problem. The much complained problem in the past was that in order to, let's say get to the end area of the game, once you get to a new area, you can fly back there as much as you have to get in the first instance. By the end of the game, you would need the moves to cut down a tree, push a rock around, smash a rock, surf, go up a waterfall, defog, I think was in this one, remove a fog. And so all of these were moves that you had to have on your Pokemon on your team. And bearing in mind you can only have 6 Pokemon on your team, each have only got 4 moves. By the end of the game, about a third of those were these rubbish, and often they are rubbish moves that you have to have. So, then you'd walk up to the edge of the water and you go, okay, Bibarel, use surf, and then you'd be able to go across the water. So it was a pain because you'd have to have what were called in the pre-woke gaming space, HM slaves, which meant Pokemon that perhaps weren't that good or you didn't really care about and you wouldn't have on your team for any other reason, but they could have 3, they could learn 3 or 4.
I remember it was a Bibarel. Bibarel. Yeah, it was just like, because you could have surf, you could have waterfall, and I think you could have cut and whatever else. It just,
I think Rock Smash or Defog.
Sorry?
Yeah, Rock Smash, I think was one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So he was like a sought after Pokemon. You hate him. He's rubbish. He's just a normal and water type, I think. And you just basically gave him 4 moves that made him very, very unviable. And he sucked up all of your XP share.
Yeah.
XPO.
Yeah. So wasted XP. You'd have to have him on your team. And it would be annoying because you get, halfway down a route. You're like, okay, there's a tree I need to cut down. I have to go all the way back or use an escape rope and then go all the way back to the Pokemon Center to go into the box and switch it out. So they have fixed this in 2 ways. One of which is after a while, I don't know why they make it after a while, but after a while they give you the ability to use the box from anywhere, which we've had from Sword and Shield.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it would just be annoying to not have that. So no matter where you are, you can access your Pokemon storage and swap out Pokemon on your team. Great. Quality of life, thumbs up. And then HMs are still in it, but they kind of follow what they did with Let's Go. So once normally you get them after you beat a particular gym leader. So you get the ability to fly after one of the gym leaders, and then that just means that's permanently unlocked. But you don't have to give it to a Pokemon. So you can once you've got cut. Yeah, once you've got cut, you can walk up to any tree and cut it without having to have a Pokemon on your team that knows cut. That's fine. It means they didn't have to completely reconfigure how you navigate through the main story in that game.
Can you still teach Pokemon those moves though?
Yes, you can.
So you can give somebody Surf if you wanted to give them Surf.
Yeah, they still exist. You can even give them Cut if you want. I don't know why anyone would give anyone Cut ever. It's a rubbish move. Just middle of the road move. There are better.
Everything is better. Yeah.
Actually better moves, which have 100% accuracy and do more damage. TMs are back. So those are technical machines which you can use to have your Pokemon learn moves that it doesn't learn through leveling up. But those are limited again.
Okay.
They're limited, but they're a bit more generous with them. So previously, for some TMs, you get one in the whole game, and that was you only had one opportunity to teach a Pokemon that move, even if it's a really good one. This time around, they do seem to hand them out, so you tend to get 3 when you get given one, and there's plenty of places to buy and trade them.
Okay, yeah, well, that's good, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit strange because there is the competitive side of Pokemon isn't going to be in this game, so it's still being kept with Sword and Shield, so it just seems a bit stingy, I think.
Yeah.
So I think previously, they did it so that you had to really think about who you gave what moves to. But for a game where there's not, there isn't the main competitive esports series. There's still battling between each other. Just seems a bit silly.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that's changed quite a bit is competitions. So these are things that I love. Competitions, PokeStar movies. What other weird things?
So describe what the competitions were. Have they changed much?
Yes, they've changed quite a lot. So
okay, so tell us what they were like before.
Okay, so what they were before was this extra little side thing you could do where you enter your favourite Pokemon into competition. So you'd go up in front of some judges and a live audience against 3 other Pokemon, and then each of your moves that we'd use in battling had like a
they had a secondary effect. So they would be a charming move, or they would be those kind of sweet moves or something.
Yeah, it was. It's cool, tough, cute, clever.
Yeah.
Smart.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember the other one.
And basically, you just had to try and you'd make competition Pokemon. Basically, you would give them the moves that would make them most viable in those competitions as well.
Yeah. Look, potentially utterly useless in battle.
Yeah.
But they had a good series of moves. It was kind of it was quite engaging and quite clever because it all depended on getting the crowd hyped up. So you do one particular move, and if you're in a toughness contest and it's a toughness move, you'll increase the hype meter, and you want to be the Pokemon who makes the hype meter kind of hit the max. Well, this is what it was in Ruby and Sapphire. Anyway. I can't remember if it was the same in Diamond and Pearl. So it was all about kind of comboing up, and there were moves that did better if they were if you're the first one to go in the round. If you scored the best last round, you'd be the first one. And if you use this move first, it will give you an extra 3 stars. Or this move will make the other Pokemon fuck up, or this move will prevent you from fucking up. So there's quite a lot of strategy involved.
Yeah. It was the paper scissors stone thing throughout the entirety of it. Cool.
Yeah, and quite a bit of depth to it. But then the other part of that would be about your Pokemon's beauty, and that was through feeding them things called poffins. So there are berries in the game, and unfortunately we're back to I've complained about berries before. We're back to daily berries. So you find some berries in the overworld,
really?
Pick them off a tree, and then you have to plant them. It's really laborious because you then stand, there's like a 4x1 tile of mud, and it has 4 berry trees on it when you're first playing through the game. So you pick the berries, you get 2 of this berry, and 2 of this berry, and 2 of this berry, and 2 of this berry. And then you have to stand in front of one mud spot, and then plant a berry, and then stand in front of the next one, and plant a berry, and then get your watering can out, and water 2, you can water 2 spots at a time. It's not clever, so it only does like the left 2 or the right 2, so you can't stand in the middle and get 3. And then you have to wait in real time for a day or 2 days, I think, for some of them to grow, and then you have to pick them. So this is what was done in the past, and it's something that gets me a little bit anxious because I think there's a thing with Diamond and Pearl where if the internal battery in your game ran out, all these events, you couldn't do anything that was time based. Do you remember this? And so I think it messed up berries. It might be Ruby or Sapphire. So I'm always a bit worried about this is a finite resource. I've picked the berries off the tree. If I forget, or if I don't continuously every day.
I mean, I was terrible with it because I properly min-maxed with the berries.
Yeah.
Because it was the only viable ones that I cared about. I would literally just have fields of Chesto berries and Lum berries.
Yeah.
And that was for the Chesto Resto builds.
You
remember?
Yeah.
And Lum was just, because it's such a great one, it just gets rid of every status effect. So you literally don't buy any more burns or antidotes or whatever it is. You just spend it all in Lum berries.
Yeah.
Good days, good times.
So the other thing that berries do in this game is you can mix them up to make a thing called a poffin, a little mini game. And each berry has a combination of things that improve. So some of them just straight up improve your, I think it's called spiciness, which translates to coolness. So if you make a bunch of these
yes, of
poffins,
course. I remember that.
Yeah.
They actually translate directly.
Yeah, so you make a bunch of these poffins. So say you want a Pokemon to do really well in the coolness competitions. There is a slight reward at the end for doing all this, which is a ribbon on your Pokemon, which will transfer wherever it goes. But also there's some other cool stuff if you do all of them. So you need the berries to make the poffin, and you feed your Pokemon the poffin, and then it will permanently increase a hidden statistic. Well, it's not a hit; you can see it, but it doesn't make any visible changes to your character. And then when you enter this competition, there are 4 ranks. This competition: Great, Ultra, Master. I can't remember. I missed one. Hyper, maybe. So to try and make this more succinct than it's getting, you're like, okay, I want my Pikachu to do well in this competition because I want to get a ribbon. So I will invest in berries, and which we've just covered is quite an endeavor because you get like 2 every day of each berry that you plant, and you have to water them and you have to walk around, and some of them take ages to grow. And then when you make these poffins, there's a mini game to do it, and it's worse than the mini game that we had before. It's a proper analog stick breaking mini game.
Oh my god, really? Waggling?
Yeah. it's wag. So you have to you put 4 berries in, and then you kind of spin the stick right to spin your poffin, and then after however many seconds it will take to then spin it left. Then you have to stop and spin it left. You get punished if you spin it too fast. You also get punished if you don't spin it quick enough, and it flips. It does clockwise, anti-clockwise, clockwise, anti-clockwise, clockwise, anti-clockwise. It does that 6 times per poffin. And if you want to max out your character's coolness to do well in competitions, you have to make, I don't know how many poffins. So you have to have the berry. So yeah, it's a huge investment. And like I say, it's kind of analog stick breaking. And then the actual competitions themselves, instead of that cool game with the moves that do different things, it is you throw your Pokemon out, and then depending on its how many poffins you've given it, depending on how you decorate the Pokeball, so you can put stickers on your ball capsules.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
And the different stickers have different effects. So with that, that's one part of the competition is like the visual bit. So what their coolness stat is, and whether you've used the cool stickers on the Pokeball. Then there's a musical QTE, which is fine. I can almost get it 100% for every rank, apart from Master rank, where it gets a little bit more challenging. And then the last thing is you can do one move per competition. So you just basically, it's good you don't have to completely mess up a Pokemon with moves. So you just have to choose, make sure it's got a good move, and it will do stuff like ignore the notes that you miss in the QTE for 5 seconds, and you can do that once per competition.
Okay.
So quite a significant change and quite a huge investment. And
would you say that there's been more of an overhaul done to the competitions than there has been perhaps in the rest of the game?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember what the Diamond and Pearl competitions were. I can only remember the Ruby and Sapphire ones. But I don't remember it being like that. I remember the visual bit being quite a big part of it. And unfortunately, this is another thing I want to talk about, because rarely for us, we're playing a game on launch week, is that the research obviously hasn't been done and put out there yet by your usual suite of websites. So instead, we live in this time where all those scummy websites know that people are going to be looking for help. They don't have the information. So there's all these really shitty articles. So I was looking at this, right, and I was like, okay, I just want to get these ribbons quickly and just move on with my life. So what are the cool stickers and what are the berries that I need to, just max out those things, and I don't have to worry about it ever again. And so, kind of looking for coolness stickers in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond or whatever. And, your polygons and your game rants and your, achievement online and all these horrible websites will be like, here's how you get your, how do you use stickers in competitions? So you click on the website, and there's an advert, and then the first paragraph will tell you, probably the text from the Pokemon website, right? So it doesn't really give you any advice. And then you scroll through 2 more adverts, and it says, stickers are things you can add to your website, right? So you scroll down, it's like, yeah. And then there's another advert. And then you get to the bottom, and they don't actually have the information about, here's where you get all the stickers, or here's because the research hasn't been done, or the data miners haven't done their job, or, there hasn't been enough time at the time of recording for people to do that laborious, science. Okay. Covered, I entered 400 competitions, and each competition I had 1 sticker on, and did I get a heart in the coolness, or did I get a heart in the toughness? So yeah, it's that magical time where, and because this is a remake as well, people are just lifting their own content from when this came out in 2006.
Oh my god, yes, of course.
Slightly tweaking it. So another one I was trying to look up is Spirit Tomb, which we mentioned earlier. You get this item, you have to chuck it into a slot. I said, how do you get Spirit Tomb? Because, I'm doing the underground stuff, maybe I can just get it at the same time. And all of them just repeat the same vague, not helpful information. Oh
god,
so, you need to interact with 32 people in the underground. Okay, great. How do I interact with people? Because I can't interact with randoms that I come across the internet. Do NPCs count? You can't access all the NPCs until you get to the very end of the game, because I think there are 32.
Yeah, and NPCs. It just makes you think that they don't know either.
Yeah, they don't. But what they're looking for is for people like me who are impatient and excited. And I vaguely remember this. Let's do it now. But there's no specific information, and I do love it. It is a special time of scumminess.
But surely your main go-to is going to be Cerebi, no?
No, the information's not up yet, and because he's quite meticulous in making sure that the information he has up is accurate. For stuff like which stickers give you stat boosts.
Deliberately doesn't put stuff up. Yeah.
Same with the Spiritomb thing as well. It's just you can interact with NPCs, and so then you'll also find at the moment, on all those kind of asking questions websites, and people just asking questions into the ether on social media, like, how the fuck do I interact with NPCs? Because other people, because I can't seem to interact with them. And it's just people asking the same question over and over again. Do I need to be friends with them?
Even that 32 interactions may not even be right. That's so annoying.
Yeah. It's until the real game guzzlers have kind of got through it and done it, or the the data miners or the science guys and gals and theys.
Okay. So here we go. News straight off the Cerebi thing. If you find an odd keystone, which is the bottom piece of Spiritomb,
which you get given,
either through the ground out, or otherwise you could, okay. So either through the Grand Underground, or otherwise you can place it on the mysterious crumbled hallowed tower in 209.
Yeah.
From there, if you interact with NPCs in the Grand Underground, it will build the energy to unleash Spiritomb. You need to have interacted with 32 different NPCs in order to get Spiritomb. So I'm guessing you have to unlock more and more NPCs, probably post-endgame shenanigans.
I think they're all there, but you can't access all areas of the underground, because there's some areas that you have to be...
that'll be it,
Yeah, and then you have to remember, so of course...
And he's actually got a guide on how, what the different things it says. You get a message when you interact with the stone, as to what sort of level it is, so that you can get Spiritomb.
Yeah, so I think I have one of those levels, but of course...
But, I mean, this is all well and good, and I remember, Spiritomb was amazing at the time because of his typing.
Yeah.
Now, I suppose the other question I've got, or leading towards, is Fairy type in Diamond and Pearl?
Yeah. So all of that is there.
Okay, so alright. Okay, so what made Spiritomb great was his typing, which was Dark and Ghost, immune to. Oh my god, it's not immune. It is.
There was no move
weakness.
That was 4 times or 2 times super effective against it.
Everything was so that was quite cool. It was just sort of a leveling playing ground for that. But if they've included Fairy type, then Spiritomb's not worth the effort.
It's kind of cool.
No, and of course you're gonna have to reset a million times so you get the shiny one as well.
Oh, don't. And once we've clarified, it sounds like the NPC route is the route for people who don't have an online connection, or you don't have any friends, or you don't want to make online friends. I didn't want to make online friends in Pokemon, so I will be doing it the slow and hard way. But I remember it being way more bullshit last time around. Didn't you have to get flags from people's secret bases, didn't you?
Yes. So, and it had to be, I think it was 49, and I think it had to be unique ones as well. I couldn't keep stealing your flag over and over and over.
No. Do you remember? I think we might have done, because I remember sat there one sad day that we were hanging out, and I was like, "Oh, can I borrow your DS?" And then I just sadly...
you're right. It was.
Going in and out and stealing your flag.
But it wasn't straightforward as that. You had to do something stupid I think you had to exit, save, restart, or both of them needed to restart so that the flag would respawn. Or there was something about getting the flag to reoccur.
I know that was something else. No, you just had to...
Oh, okay.
The flag was something else. That was another game.
Okay.
So but you could just go in and out. I think that's what we did. in and out of the underground and talk to the same person 32 times. So if you connected and I were connected, we'd make sure we were in the same spot in the game, and just kind of going up and down, up and down, up and down, talking to each other.
God.
I know.
The hypest gameplay.
And of course, so there will be Pokemon Home connectivity, but we don't quite know what that looks like, and it's not scheduled until next year.
Well,
otherwise,
yeah.
I firmly would just transfer everything over to just get a full Dex and not worry about any of this shenanigans. But yeah, so thanks, scummy, crappy, not helpful websites, for your not being very helpful at the moment stuff.
Yeah.
It's that wonderful, interesting time to be alive. And yeah, that's it. I think. So I think you're right in that. Well, for me, and again, very lucky and privileged to be in this spot. For me, this is a hold me over till Arceus Legend comes out. So it'll be something that I'll be.
Or the next expansion pack for Sword and Shield. With megas included.
Oh yeah, what area was it? It was
jungle.
The jungle, yeah, the jungle expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be. I'll just be kind of digging my way through this. Probably will end up get so impatient I will end up doing filling the decks out before Pokemon Home's online. Which means trading.
Yeah, it means getting a copy of Diamond as well.
Oh no! I know. I'll try and do it through the GT. I've not interacted with the.
Well, it's when I briefly looked up whilst you were talking there.
Yeah.
The first thing that sort of came up was a guide on how to get the tradable or version exclusive Pokemon, and so there's plenty of information out. And to be honest, do it sooner rather than later, because when it's fresh, people are really generous. You know, they made eggs of all of the starters and all that sort of stuff, you know. And people will be checking them out. But apparently there's legendary exclusives. So all of the legendaries are available, including, you know, like Lugia and stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot of trading for those guys.
Yeah, see, I think I might just wait. Because this one, I know I've not looked into it, and I'll try and find out organically. Because there's the pre-game and post-game thing, and hopefully you just get all your bonuses for completing the Sinnoh decks rather than the other one. And what's weird about this one is some of the Pokemon you can't normally catch until you reach the end.
Okay. So what are the bonuses? Remind us.
So in past games, it's been there's been like egg hatching charm. There's been a shiny charm. So egg hatching makes your eggs appear and hatch quicker. The shiny charm increases your background rate of finding a shiny Pokemon. There's another one as well, wasn't there?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is
the
kind
catching charm. To make
yes,
there
goes.
Yeah.
It's just catching. And some of the so there are in the kind of mini wild areas in the underground, you get rare spawns. So for example, Lickitung is one and Absol is one.
Yeah.
And going back to the old school hard catch rates is brutal. I think I threw something like 30 heal balls at a red life Lickitung. Just nothing was happening.
So yeah, that's the other thing that I looked up briefly on Cerebi as well, is your the Diglett, the 40 Diglett thing, where you get, apparently all it does is half the shiny chance.
Okay.
So
from
4,096, so they've taken the old values, they've not made it 4,000 like in Sun and Moon.
So that's every time you interact with a Pokemon, you've got a 1 in 4,096 chance that it's a shiny one.
Yeah, but if you get that extreme bonus or whatever the chain is, it goes down to 2,048.
Oh, happy days.
Yeah, I mean, that is like... But hopefully if you do get something in game with like the shiny charm, which should half it again,
Yeah.
That's 1 in 1024. I mean,
it's
not great, but
no, and you're limited by the Pokemon that appear in the underground, which isn't all of them.
Yeah, but you have the ability to try and push to get certain ones as well. Or at least
but I think it's only by types, and then you have to be near the room that you want, because there's lots of different biomes. There's like a volcano room, there's a marsh room, there's a crystal cave room. When you hit if you've got a good connection and you're just doing whatever whilst you're connected to the internet, you normally hit 40 like between 10 and 20 minutes, maybe quicker than that.
Okay.
So you could kind of just set yourself up and then just wait for it. But what's really weird, as I mentioned before, is there are some Pokemon that you can get in the underground, which are before you've completed the story and got your national Pokedex, which are national Pokedex ones, so they have no Pokedex number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I thought was a bit strange. And then with the statues that you get as well, you can get statues of Pokemon which are post national Dex Pokemon. So it's a bit weird.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I'm actually a little relieved by some of the things that you've mentioned on this one as well, specifically for skipping it. I think when my concern was they were going to bring this out and they're going to bring out an exclusive that you can only get from Diamond and Pearl. Now,
what would your tipping point have been? Would it have been one
just one
new Pokemon?
Just one, yeah. It would literally have been fuck. Right, okay, the whole goddamn thing so that I now have my Pokédex up to... Yeah, I'd done it before.
Yeah, I know, I have as well. I bought Pokemon Channel, I bought
Platinum.
XD.
Platinum was...
Oh, yeah.
And it was that was the Platinum Challenge as well. I had to complete it within, a week in order to get Darkrai. And it was the only way to get that Darkrai at all.
And probably the worst way to experience Pokemon Platinum was just desperately speedrunning it.
I had a lot of fun in Platinum because what I'd done was the IV, or as close as you could get to sort of EV/IV training back in the day, 6 Pokemon that I wanted to level up. So I just basically transferred those 6 over from the other games. I thought, alright, I'm going through the entire game. These ones can learn everything they need to. I got a Bidoof to do all of my HM stuff, whatever it was. And then, just battered through the game as quickly as I could. And I remember I was awful at it as well. Because not awful as in bad, as in I would... I used to love playing Pokemon in bed, but what that would mean was I would go to bed and literally just put on a screen for the next 4 hours and not sleep. You know, that was my routine. It was like,
the reason why there was a time pressure is because there was an internet giveaway of a mythical Pokemon Darkrai, which ended after a certain time. So you had to get to the point in the game where you can then download the thing within that time limit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Playing Pokemon under pressure is always quite stressful. I remember I had to do that. I have to do it for... I think bank was running out, and there was still like loads of forms that I didn't... I think I wanted to get all the Florges Flabébé colours.
Yeah, there you go. That's another exclusive for Diamond and Pearl. Is it Flabébé?
No, Flabébé is X and Y, I think.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah, that's what I meant, X and Y. You have the Poodle, you have Flabébés, and you have Vivleons. There are loads and loads of forms.
Yeah. And Flabébés and Vivleons are yet to come to go, right?
Ooh.
So I think the last time you could get them was...
Yeah.
Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. There's that weird... there's a special place
the story
you can go
about the giant guy, and there's an extra form of Flabébé as well.
There's a really rare one.
Is that how you say it? Is that how the anime says it?
Flabébé. Oh, it's set in Europe, isn't it? So I always say it's Flabébé, like a French.
Flabébé.
So you mentioned Pokemon Platinum. What we didn't mention in the history of the brief history of Pokemon games is that many of these have a third, right? So it's Ruby, Sapphire, and then later came Emerald.
Emerald, yeah.
Gold and Silver, later came Crystal. So with Diamond and Pearl, originally it was Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, and Platinum was much loved and significantly better than Diamond and Pearl. It came with loads of extra bits and pieces. There was all the
cool battle tower, and yeah.
And very little of the Platinum content is in this game.
Oh, okay. So there's going to be a Platinum version come out in a year's time.
I don't know. No, I don't think there will be. So that's got a lot of the internet is quite annoyed at that. And for a while, when all we had was 3 screenshots to go on, there was the character who gives you the Lucidia flower, which allows you to change Shaman's form from hedgehog form to flying form.
Shaman, incidentally, I think that was like one of the first ones that we could get in the UK. Like, games started doing the Pokemon.
It's one of the first mythical Pokemon that you didn't have to cut a leg off.
yeah.
Or go to Manchester 1-2 hour period on a Tuesday when the Pokemon truck was there to get it.
Yeah.
So that character is only in Platinum, and there's a screenshot showing that character. But as far as I can gather, there's not much else. There was a play early bonus. So after the 4th gym, you can claim a mystery gift, and one of those mystery gifts is a costume, the Platinum costume for your character. So I've got that, which is, I don't know, it's like a snowy costume. And the other cool thing is, which is always appreciated, is at the moment, if you have a save file, so if you have a Let's Go save file, if you have a Sword or Shield save file, you can get access to a Mew, a Jirachi, and then at the moment there's a Manaphy egg.
Can you use them from the start?
You have to get to Flowerama Town, which is like the 3rd town.
Okay.
But yeah, so essentially you can rock through the game with a Mew, Jirachi, and a Manaphy, and a Fiona if you really wanted.
Oh, I dig that. That's really good. Because what I really enjoyed was which iteration?
Gen 5, where you got Victini.
Yeah, that was so cool. Just to have like a legendary straight off the bat, and you're like, I care about this Pokemon more than I care about the guaranteed normal one that you have.
Oh mate, don't. It broke my heart. I said, well, I'm on the 5th gym, and I've only just swapped out. So I had Staravia, I had Luxray, Bibarel, my starter. Oh Christ, this is my first Pokemon Diamond team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've just swapped it out for
oh god, yeah.
A Octillery and a Gastrodon.
Of course you did.
Yeah. I had a Golduck there for a while as well.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I do agree with you. I think that it's because there's no super special benefit, and particularly because I don't think you went nuts on Sword and Shield.
No,
you've still got
I've still got
all the legendaries. You still got all the legendaries to get in that.
Yeah. I've still got the storyline to finish in the expansion.
Yeah. So we've got what's it called? Reggie Draco, Reggie Lecky.
Yeah.
Do you have those yet?
No, I've got the big headed thing that is on a horse.
Oh yeah, Calyrex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have Urshifu?
Yes I do.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, my main issue and my main gripe, it's still the same thing. I want a DS again.
Oh, so this is one of the things I didn't mention. Do you remember the first time around? There's a thing called your bottom screen on the DS was.
Yeah, of course. That's a good point. Yeah.
And it had various things. It had some weird, totally useless things, and it had some really useful things. So it had a calculator in there.
It was the way to find out your IV as well. You did something stupid with it.
But yeah, you could also chain rare spawns to get shinies.
Yeah. You
could check friendship. There's a notepad memo. There's a footstep counter, so you can keep track of how many steps your character's taken. So some fun, some useful, some useless. There's like an analog clock, a digital clock, which you unlock as you go through the story. So that, obviously, the Switch does not have a bottom screen. It's just the one screen. So now if you hold R, the Poketch appears on the top right-hand corner. And then if you tap R again, it kind of becomes big. And then you can kind of interact with it. Now that works fine for handheld mode. But obviously you can't touch the screen when it's connected to the TV. So some of the Poketch apps are useless, like the memo writing one, because you're writing with a cursor that you control with an analog stick.
Yeah, exactly,
It's just completely useless. And then there are some things like the counter, which you just want to tap as you go, which is almost impossible to do, or just much easier to do in without handheld mode. So I don't know. I don't think it's a good solution to just like, oh, do you remember that stuff that's on the bottom screen of the DS? We'll just kind of tuck it in the top corner if you want it. It's a little bit obtrusive, just when it's little, and then when it's big, you just can't play the game otherwise because it takes up the whole screen. So it's a bit awkward, I think. And again, perhaps being faithful for faithfulness' sake.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from. It's the right way of terming that, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, here's the thing that was a big part of the previous game, because it was the first one on a dual screen, and when everyone was experimenting with doing crazy things on the bottom screen, and hey, in an RPG it's great because you can have all your menu junk at the bottom and just focus on the graphics at the top. Whereas this one is a bit of a strange shoe-in, I think.
Yeah.
And then, as we mentioned previously, with Sword and Shield, it's not as polished as you'd hope. So I've had a few weird glitches occur. There's like ghost characters which are stuck in the wall.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. A couple of the backgrounds are just really bland. Really. In fact, I tweeted it from that guy's Maniac on Twitter, all one word, lowercase. When you do the battling on the cycling road, you're just in an amorphous space which has like sort of vague blue top half and a vague grey bottom half, which doesn't look very nice considering when you're battling in other areas of the game. The what was before you versus just you looking at the back of your Pokemon's head and the front of your Pokemon is this really nice detailed scenery. It doesn't look great. Other than that, no real complaints on that front. But like I said, I've not tried much of the online stuff at all. Do you remember that, in the Pokemon Centers, you used to be able to go upstairs and do bollocks and downstairs and do bollocks, and then there was a place in Jubilee City where you could go and do online bollocks. All of that is there. I've just not touched it at the moment.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like the Union Room and the trading spot.
Yeah, that doesn't excite me at all.
No.
There isn't enough changes to make me excited. Yeah.
Yeah, and if Sinnoh's not your favourite region, not my favourite region.
Yeah,
it'd be difficult. Well, what I'd love to do would involve making friends.
God damn it!
I know.
Our biggest hurdle in life.
It's a bridge too far. Is talk to someone who's only played like either Let's Go and Sword and Shield, and then now they're picking up this weird modernized throwback to
that's got all of these. Okay.
The state of JRPGs in 2006. I'd be like, what do you think? Is this, egregiously weird, or just feels like really bad gameplay design because it's harking back to what was in this previous game, which was designed for a complete different system, and we hadn't seen different ways of doing things.
Yeah, I would imagine that they would. Yeah, I mean, yes, I would love to hear their opinions on it. Based on what you're saying, that they have definitely kept all of these weird throwbacks or nods to the old system, and somebody coming into this new, but only with the perception of Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I would be a little bit grumpy because it would feel like less of a game. Does it feel like less of a game?
No, it doesn't. It definitely feels like a game. I think because the map is so big and convoluted, and there's a lot of running about and back and forth, it feels like a game. Definitely, it doesn't feel kind of shallow or half done, half baked. But coming from Sword and Shield, where even if you didn't put a huge amount of time into it, you are up to the waist in berries, right? Because you just shake a berry tree every time you walk past it. If you'd be doing, any max raids, you've got hundreds of rare candies. You've got TMs and TRs coming out your ass. Going back to I'm 20 hours in and I found 2 rare candies, and I've got
Yeah, it's a bit more. It becomes a bit more of a survival game than the other ones.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I've just picked up the citrus berry. Whereas previously I was selling them because I had 999 of them.
Yeah,
just from walking around. So it might be a bit brutal. And something that I kind of did like, even though I've played this game before, is there were bits where I was like, I wonder how that works, which is very old school. So they don't tell you anything about how the poffin making works. They don't tell you anything about what is a cool thing on your ball capsule or not.
But on the upside, you've got all those scummy websites to tell you how they work.
So to tell you nothing about how they work. After 18 adverts to tell you the fact that there are stickers in this game and they have an effect on your character, but not what that effect is. Which is kind of nice. He's like, I wonder how that works. Like when you first start finding these statues, like, I wonder what these do. And there's a bit of experimenting around and playing and not really knowing kind of what's going on, which is very old school Pokemon, I think. Rather than spelling out for you or just gifting you everything as it happened with Sword and Shield. Yeah. There we go. Who knows? It might be that after the Elite Four, the game significantly changes and there's 20 new Pokemon that are in nothing else, and they give you hundreds of items and
like in game maybe they become a bit more forgiving.
Yeah, but I don't think I think I've got the measure of the game. Just I'm not expecting too many surprises here on out, or things which are too different from what we got back on the DS.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have reached quite an end point. You wanted me to ask you questions. I think I've covered everything that you wanted. I had a stupid question as to whether or not Dante was in this game. Dante from the Devil May Cry series, or Shin Megami Tensei, or many of his other cameos. Is he in Diamond and Pearl? You don't know because you've not finished it yet.
I've not finished it, but I'd say Dante's... Which Pokemon would you say is Dante is? Maybe
I don't know. Maybe he's a little Garchompy or a little.
Yeah. A little Ghibli. I think it's Lucario. Lucario is in this game.
Oh wait a minute! Of course, it's Dante. He's got different weapons, so different stances. So he's definitely Lucario when he's got the infernal fist weapons.
Yeah.
I guess Aegislash
is not in this game.
He's not in this game, right? Okay.
Urshifu has stances. Well, Urshifu's not in this game, and that's the. I don't know if you could say, why didn't they just put the new Pokemon in? Right. So this is only the first.
Yeah, like if
480.
If it's as bad as you say with regards to the mix of Pokemon at the start, mix it up, make the changes, make it fun.
Put Go-Go in, just so that people who were born in 2013 can play a game where they got a Go-Go in it.
Yeah, I mean, just make it fun,
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like that is fun
It's not. I literally did. I stare down a route full of trainers who I know half of them have Geodudes, and just think, I'll just go into the underground and dig up some more statues. Dig up my 40th nose.
Anything is more engaging. Yeah.
Anything is more engaging than just grind. And it won't be difficult because they're 4 times weak to grass, 4 times weak to the water moves. It's just I don't want to go and press the buttons.
And again, that was a similar thing in Let's Go with me. It was like, it wasn't that the trainer battles were hard, it was that you had to go through them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
And then half, particularly with Geodude and Onyx as well, half of them have sturdy.
Oh god!
So you can't even, which means you can't knock them out with one hit, and then it means they have 1 HP. And then with Geodudes, then normally it means they do self-destruct.
There was one really annoying Pokemon that you just hated to go up against. That did like rap and had like bide or something like that. And you're just like, oh yeah, in fact it was Onyx. He would do rap, and you would just be stuck, not able to move, and you'd be like, oh my god, this is the worst gameplay mechanic ever. And you're just sitting there, and then he would do bide, and you're like, oh my god, could he knock me out with bide?
I've been I have from a wild Onyx that had sturdy, so I did a super effective move, taking down to 1 HP because of his ability, and then he did flail.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, one hit KOing my guys. And what's really annoying is some of the rare spawns in the underground wild area, as I'm calling them, have moves like Dragon Tail and Roar. So the first Houndoom, which I bumped into, which is not a pre-National Dex thing, it's a rare spawn. I was like, there's a Houndoom, that'd be interesting to catch. Yeah, roared me away.
Roar. So, yeah. I hate that. Oh my god. Take that stuff out. Make the game fun.
No, don't punish me for getting a rare spawn down here. Yeah.
But as nice as this is to chat through, we have definitely come to the end of our episode.
Yeah.
Is there anything more that you wanted to say on DP?
No, I don't think so. I think if you missed it first time around, it might be interesting to have a look at what the games were. And as somebody who played and enjoyed it the first time round, I think it's a good mix of a little bit of quality of life. I could have done with a little tiny bit more quality of life, less faithful to the original. But I'm sure I'm seeing a lot of stuff on social media which is actually quite heartwarming for people who Diamond and Pearl was their first game. You kind of always have that soft spot for your first game.
Yeah.
Who are just absolutely loving this game. So
and Gen 4 has a big fan base behind it. I like when I used to be on Twitter, everybody was like, "Oh, where's my Gen 4 remake?"
Yeah. Of course, already because the Gen 4 remakes come out. Some ironic, some probably unironic calls for Gen 5 remakes. The day it came out, I think.
Yeah.
So expect that in 2 years' time. Black
and white. But do it in the Sword and Shield engine and make it fun.
Yeah. Get rid of watering fucking berries. Oh my god.
Yeah. The anxiety around it.
I know. Speaking of which, I now have to go and water my berries.
Okay.
That's a euphemism.
Oh. Well, have fun watering your berries.
I will do.
Say the thing.
That Gibble is a maniac.
That Gibble's a maniac. Why'd you interact with me 32 times?